For over 60 years, the University of Maryland School of Social Work has transformed lives, families, and communities through innovative service models, impactful research, and an unwavering commitment to excellence. This work continues today as the demand for social work is greater than ever. We are dedicated to educating the next generation of change makers, community leaders, clinicians, advocates, and policymakers who will stand at the forefront of society's most pressing issues. By actively engaging with our students and listening to their voices, we ensure their education is guided by their experiences and aspirations, better equipping them to address real-world challenges. To bring this commitment to life, we gathered several currently enrolled students to share their stories with you, highlighting the impact of their journey firsthand.
To be honest, I didn't know social work was a career until I was in college already.
I knew I wanted to help people, just didn't know what practices that I wanted to put in place to do so.
I definitely want to help people. That's always been something that was, I guess, ingrained in my childhood.
Ever since I was a very young kid, I was very concerned about other people.
It is the most rewarding, but also the most stressful job that I have ever had.
Sometimes it's overwhelming, but ultimately it's a good feeling when you know that you're helping somebody else and making their life better.
Something that would have helped me was to having a social worker, someone who saw me while I was going through school.
I wanted to know more, how could I work in a profession to support people with their mental health challenges.
Even as a definitive moment when I was incarcerated, that's when I just realized any misstep can lead you in an adverse situation. It was one of those eureka moments, right? It was pretty much fate for me to become a social worker.
I grew up in foster care, and growing up in care is really hard, especially when you don't have a social worker who's there all the time.
My brother got into a pretty horrendous car accident. He was at shock trauma just down the street for 4 months. He ended up losing his left leg, and he has been in recovery ever since. But that period was when I knew that I needed to have a voice for people who had substance use disorders and didn't get the help they needed.
I don't want to say I chose social work, it's more so like social work chose me, and looking at my strengths, it just made sense for me to follow along with something that just feels very natural and fulfills me.
I feel like I fell into the category of students that was overlooked. And if we had a school-based social worker that could have just worked with me more than what an average guidance counselor does, I think my adulthood to late teenage years might have been a little easier.
This is something I want to do. I want to make a change in the profession of mental health so that stories from Black and brown people are incorporated when it comes to treating people, when it comes to identifying and creating symptomology for diagnosing people of color.
The drive, honestly, I believe it's in me.
A drive to just continue to just try to make a change in people's lives.
You know, just being more than a therapist and actually having a voice for these individuals rather than just having a 60-minute session and saying, I'll see you next week. So that's where social work kind of takes that next step from therapy.
Little 8-year-old V, she would probably just cry and giggle and jump around, running around in a circle saying, yay, I'm so happy that I can help everybody. It gives me chills, nothing can ever compare to that.
And they just need that person that they know 100% is in their corner to support them, and I am that person.
And that's why I want to be a social worker.
And that's why I want to be a social worker.
And that's why I want to be a social worker.
And that's why I want to be a social worker.
And that's why I want to be a social worker.
And that's why I want to be a social worker.